gets set to take a look at the Fuso starting grid. He scored his 6th pole position in the 2015 championship, so he lines up on the front row beside David Reynolds. His final weekend with the Bottle O Racing team. He's driving brilliantly and wants to go out on a high. And trying to help, if he can, the team in the team's championship, but that's really closed up. James Courtney alongside Scott McLaughlin. Scott Pye in a better starting position for this one, alongside Lee Holdsworth. Craig Lowndes, much better than it was in the previous race from a starting position point of view, but it is that much harder in terms of trying to keep the championship alive. Fabian Coulthard. We go back to Garth Tander alongside Jack Perkins, who's subbing superbly for Nick Percat this weekend. Dale Wood raced hard and managed to finish ahead of Craig Lowndes. So did Will Davison in the previous race. David Wall, final full-time weekend for him with Gary Rogers Motorsport. Tim Blanchard with an issue with the engine in that car, a header problem we think, and Steve Owen at the back of the grid in the sister Pepsi Max entry. 20th or better, and he'll clinch the championship. There's lots of other permutations we could roll you through in terms of how it might shake out. But he's got one hand on that cup.
He wasn't entirely happy with the car in that previous race. You could see from our chopper shot when we were following Mark Winterbottom that the car wasn't as strong as possibly could have been on the run into the corner, and that's what he complained about on Friday as well. They thought they'd resolved it in qualifying, and he hinted before when I went down and asked him that there perhaps might have been a little more to the story. They took it back into the garage between races and they've scaled it back up. Clearly they've made some adjustments. Craig Lowndes also, just Grant McPherson suggesting that they wanted a little bit more turn in that car so that it responded better to that steering wheel input that you can see there with Craig at the wheel. Wally Story on the left, Grant McPherson on the right. So they're getting in position there to bring their drivers into a millimetre perfect position on the starting line.
Love the straight shooting style of Wally Story. You can sit and listen to him talk for hours about motor racing, and he cuts straight to it, doesn't he?
And
I'll line you up longitudinally.
If Wally was paid by the word, he'd be a multi-millionaire.
3 grid boxes, 2 grid boxes, 1 grid box, 3, 2, 1. Keep edging, slow it up, stop. Nice, mate.
Back with Craig Lowndes here beside Jason Bright. They're on the 5th row of the grid. The view from on high above Sydney Olympic Park. Join the conversation. He would be a great champion. Do you think he'll do it in this race? Use the hashtag V8SC. Is this
3 rows to go.
The day for Mark Winterbottom?
Cars pulling into the grid.
He's won a Bathurst. It's the number 1 he craves.
Interesting matchups. Whincup and Reynolds. Van Gisbergen and Winterbottom. Courtney and McLaughlin.
Green flag, green flag.
Slade at the back of the grid. They couldn't take part in the second qualifying session with the damage to the Super Cheap Auto Racer. Race 2 at the Coates Hire 500. Whincup gets away nicely. He'll have the line for the run to turn 1. Beautiful stuff. David Reynolds on the outside. Look at the defensive stuff behind him. Winterbottom trying to fend off a fast starting Volvo in the hands of Scott McLaughlin. Good job by James Courtney. He's away well. Oh, contact with Coulthard and Michael Caruso, I think it was. Jack Perkins. Maybe Perkins either just getting out of it or really with nowhere to go in some respects.
Pye and Lowndes were at it as well, crisscrossing on the run down towards turn 1. Here we are on board with Craig, and that's Pye in the foreground, just slid off the exit of turn 4 there. Craig's rolled out of it a little bit earlier. Remember, they've got cold tyres, no grip available at all. It's Whincup, nice job. There was little in the way of wheel spin once again. He's got those starts mastered at the moment, and Todd Kelly animated on the radio down the order. Left front damage for him. And they'll check it as he passes the pit lane.
He's been animated on the radio, hasn't he, since Queensland Raceway. He's fired up at times, Todd Kelly, this year. We've enjoyed that passion in his racing. Shane Van Gisbergen there, 6th place, chasing Scott McLaughlin. They come through. Whincup, Reynolds, then back to Frosty. Courtney, here's the 17 of Scott Pye having a look at Lee Holdsworth. There's the damage on Todd Kelly's car you were talking about.
Check the margins for you at the end of the first lap. It's 0.6 of a second between Whincup and Reynolds. Great start. Perfect cold tyre lap for Jamie Whincup. The contenders, well, Winterbottom is in 3rd position and Lowndes is in 9th. And there's Craig tucked in behind Scott Pye at turn 1.
Looks like he's got pace relative to Pye, doesn't he? He's looking. The 888 trying to move by the 17. He may not get it done there, though.
He tried to go down the inside off the start, and then Scott moved across so that he went back to the outside of the road, Lowndes, but he wasn't able to clear him. This time he gets a run as they come out of 4. He's up the inside for the fast left-hander at 5. He's got him because Scotty's on the dirty side of the road. Done. Well, no, maybe not. In the end, there's a yield. Too wide through there has proven to be very difficult in the past, if not impossible.
Will Davison looking racy as well. So Lowndes ahead of Pye up into 8th spot.
So again, as we've seen in years gone by, Holdsworth quick out there. Car number 18 as well. He's currently in 7th place. Here's the start. Watch the rear wheels on 1. Boom, gone. Drop the clutch, bite, and away he went. Nice start too for Mark Winterbottom. And then look a little further back in the pack and you'll see the crisscrossing going on between Pye and Lowndes.
Looks like it's a good start for McLaughlin, not so good for Van Gisbergen. Watch this here. So Frosty gets away. Watch McLaughlin.
A lot of wheel spin for Shane. Doesn't take much. A few kilometres an hour makes an enormous difference down here. It's a little over 400 metres to the first corner. You shudder when you see them going 2, 3 and sometimes even 4 wide into turn 1, and that's Caruso and Coulthard hooking up.
I reckon it started with Dale Wood even earlier in the corner. He kind of got out of shape. Not sure if he was assisted in some way. There you go.
It was all messy, all tripping over each other. Just typical lap 1 congestion.
That's Shane Van Gisbergen, 4th position. On Scott McLaughlin, up into 5th now. One Kiwi passes another. He's chasing James Courtney. Look at the gap already between the Darrell E Commodore and the Volvo.
1.6 seconds Whincup over Reynolds, and the fastest lap, 1 minute 30.0. The opportunity to come in and take that compulsory pit stop will arise shortly when the leader commences lap number 5. Down the inside for Moffat on wall, turn 9. Done. Back to Pye. And he's looking at the rear bumper of Lee Holdsworth's car at turn 11. Coulthard on the inside of Dale Wood. These guys arguing over 14th and 15th.
Worth noting there too that with Scott Pye looking at Lee Holdsworth, Lowndes is ahead of Holdsworth, now up to 7th, Craig Lowndes. So we run down this fast main straight, the approach to turn 1. Quick, as you can see, on the Shannon speed trap as you ride with Scott Pye. Over 200 k's an hour. Big respect for the guys and the way they attack this venue. It is so narrow. It's an unbelievable joint to race a car.
Coulthard was looking for a bit more bump compliance in the car. There's Dick Johnson. Back to his man, Scott Pye. And a little bit more turn with that car, number 14 as well. Reckons the pace of the car wasn't too bad in the last one, but track position was hurting, and it wasn't quite crisp enough. Jason, 15th at the moment.
So Jason Bryant looking like he's pushing Scott Pye for 9th place. So we'll keep an eye on that because in the meantime, Van Gisbergen is closing on Courtney.
Whincup moving the marker. He's out to 2 seconds now as a gap over Reynolds and a new fastest lap of 29.7. Van Gisbergen. And we're going to see people dive into the lane here shortly. Lowndes is quick in the first sector on this lap as well. This is impressive speed again from Whincup, who's banking more and more success in the back end of this championship. This is the guy that's been unrelenting in recent years. He's owned the championship. He moves the marker again. It's a 29.1 and 2.2 seconds is the gap now. Whincup over Reynolds, and Pye's come into the lane. Coulthard's come in. Todd Kelly's come in. So James Moffat joins them. 4 cars in the lane together with Tim Blanchard. Todd Kelly.
If you're just joining us for the coverage, this is the second of 3 races for the weekend in the Coates Hire Sydney 500. Stay with us, whatever you do, because the title looks set to be decided. Mark Winterbottom is in third in this race and looking like finally, after so many years of trying, putting his name on that V8 Supercars Championship trophy.
Here he is in third place at turns 6 and 7. He's in behind David Reynolds. Enjoyed riding with him earlier on his lap, describing the racetrack. Gave us a really good idea of the work rate around here. Big braking effort, big braking temperatures, a lot of wheel work, a lot of coordination required in the shifts, and to be able to ultimately open up the radius of these corners and use everything means that you've got to graze up against the walls everywhere at the apex and on the exit. It requires perfection in terms of judgment and understanding the width of the vehicle and how much you can slide it and how hard you can push under brakes. Shane Van Gisbergen not getting the car turned in, so you can see where Scott McLaughlin is traditionally where we expect to see the drivers. So Shane ran pretty high and wide in there as now Lowndes comes in together with Rick Kelly in the Jack Daniels car. Jack Perkins in the background.
Steve Owen, I think, as well coming in. So saw some very good stops from the Red Bull Racing Australia team before.
Stop on the mark for Haddo, mate. Well too short, mate. You're clear, 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 clear.
Just got that left rear on. That was just a little bit awkward because the rattling the wheel on and off almost equaled the fuel dump.
Okay.
So he and Rick Kelly rejoin ahead of the Penske Truck Rentals entry of Scott Pye. Whincup leads from Reynolds.
Seen this before this time of day here. That run down towards turn 2 gets a bit problematic with glare. Very difficult to be able to see your braking reference down there and neatly climb across those curves. So out to 3.4 seconds now, Whincup over Reynolds. David's only got a couple of car lengths over Frosty. More people on the radio getting sorted now for their stop. We've had about 5 or 6 cars take a stop.
Van Gisbergen, one of them. There he is.
So people sorting themselves out better now in terms of traffic management here.
He's into the box. Leave the car in neutral. Come across, come across, come across.
Running longer in the last race didn't really hurt. Diving in early with traffic did.
You're clear, you're clear, you're clear.
No dramas this time around for Van Gisbergen in his stop. He gets out ahead of Tim Slade. You could see the Super Cheap Auto crew on standby, so there was no issue for him in terms of another car coming in this time.
Okay, mate, Lowndes is at last corner now. Lowndes is at last corner now. Eyes forward, mate. I need good laps here to jump them.
Oh, this will be a drag race here. He'll get out in front. Moves over to cover the line on the run to turn 1, so he's ahead of Lowndes.
Effectively teammates next year, and a couple of hard heads out there that give no quarter. Craig's fully up the temperature in terms of tyres, but Shane's got track position and he is not going to hand it to him on a platter.
A lot of sand down there at that chicane after an incident in the Dunlop race before for Aaron McGill. Lots of fuel down there. Seems to have been able to hold it. Gizzy.
Expect to see Winterbottom in. Yeah, there, and together with Courtney. James made a little gain on Frosty, then tucked under the rear wing. Bright, meantime, right under the rear bumper there of Lee Holdsworth's car. Test of team skills here.
Working together on exit. Go, 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 you'll make it. Go, 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 go.
Yep. Both are very good and both doing
at the moment. I'll work with you when we get out.
early morning rehearsals today, but their pit stops.
4.1 seconds the gap now. Whincup over Reynolds. 29.1 is the fastest lap of the race. And still 8 cars to take their compulsory pit stop. Minimum requirement, 2 wheels and tyres, and to be able to get through to the end of this race, they don't need much in the way of an extra drop of fuel.
Last of those on the road would be Chris Pither, as you say, in 8th in the Super Black Racing entry.
Watching this match up here at the moment is interesting. So it looks as though they have improved car 888. Craig and engineer Grant McPherson. That car looks like it's got a bit of pace. He's matching Shane Van Gisbergen at the moment.
You have a very clear run in.
But part of
have a very clear run out.
Shane's advantage around here is he uses all of the racetrack. I mean, even just watching him there coming out of the chicane relative to Craig, he's into every millimetre available.
Go, go, go.
Oh, did they have trouble with that right rear of David Reynolds? Maybe a fraction slower than they wanted. So you can see the Pepsi Max entry coming through there now. So he rejoins. Winterbottom may get him here. He gets out in front.
Pretty much status quo. Frosty will have the benefit of the warmer tyres for these next few braking applications. But again, just as it was for Shane Van Gisbergen before, David's got track position. So Gizzy's just done the fastest lap of the race at 28.8 on that refreshed rear tyre set. Whincup's got the margin out to 6.7 seconds over McLaughlin and then Holdsworth.
McLaughlin's continuing to make some ground here. Some good sectors popping up for the Volvo driver, who's second in the order, but yet to stop. So Whincup from McLaughlin and a slowing Steve Owen. So Tim Edwards in conversation there with Rusty French, team owner. McLaughlin in the lane. Here we go.
Stop on the marks. There's a HRT car coming in behind. Oh, it's going to come past you. Go, 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 go.
Oh, it's stalled.
Go, 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 go. You're on. Slow down. You're on.
Now that's an interesting stationary shot there for Steve Owen. Does this trigger a safety car, I wonder?
I haven't got any warnings on the dash. For a second I thought I might have flicked the limiter on mid-corner, but I checked that and definitely the limiter, I sort of like how that goes when I checked it, but it's not that. It sounds really similar though, like it's just got no percentage throttle and then it just died.
So you can see the local yellow there, so it's on the exit of turn 1.
Just run hard left, down to turn 1, hard left.
Yellow's still on display at this point of the track, despite a racy Shane Van Gisbergen. McLaughlin ahead of him.
Cam's race control, Tim Schenken. What's going on here with Bridie? Oof.
Close as
That
you
would
like.
have been an awkward connection between the mirror and the backside.
This is the most stressed man in this V8 Supercars paddock this weekend. A Dunlop Series campaign, and this one.
They have to bring this guy in because he's got no choice. If he stays out there, he gets absolutely smashed. So Whincup in now.
As you can see, you've got a nice lead in again. Same as last time, mate. Straight in. Well, on the mark. The halo, please. Make sure that's not too long.
So they had
Nothing
a
else
little,
around, mate. Should be good to go as soon as we got you. Yeah, nice one. All clear. All clear.
they had an electrical gremlin for Pro Drive at Bathurst with car number 5. So it sounds like they've got something going on there. That little bit of conversation that we intercepted with Steve Owen, Holdsworth and Dale Wood are the cars in the pit lane there.
When you look back on the outcome of that race, given the reset that they had to do to get a podium on that day for Frosty and for Steve Owen, was a very good job, wasn't it?
Very.
So Holdsworth rejoins. We're under Lexus RCF safety car for an incident here with Steve Owen, some sort of drama with car 6.
Tim Edwards, do we have a report on what's actually happened to Steve Owen's car there?
Yeah, sync sensor failed on the engine.
So she's actually just cut out?
Yeah, the sync sensor obviously tells the camshaft position and the sensors failed.
Okay. Hey, in this situation, Frosty's got actually a little bit of friendly out there, like he didn't have in the first race. You got a bit of a plan there on with Dave maybe riding shotgun there at the behind at some stage?
Well, the friendly's in front of him at the moment, but look, he's happy with the car, so that's a good start.
So you're quite happy to leave it as is and maybe not manipulate those positions.
We'll see what happens. We're only racing one bloke.
Thanks, mate.
Currently in P7.
Okay.
Fingers crossed it's an isolated thing for Steve Owen. He's looking good. Mark Winterbottom to clinch that title for the first time. Whincup leads the way from Reynolds and Frosty. So Scott McLaughlin's done a very good job, and so have Volvo in those stops. The way it's shaken out in terms of an order, he's ahead of Shane Van Gisbergen. Lowndes is 7th. Rick Kelly's up to 8th, ahead of Scott Pye and Lee Holdsworth. So Whincup from Reynolds, all bunched up under safety car. And we've got 26.5 laps to go. So it should be a fascinating fight with those pit stops done. I said to Scott McLaughlin yesterday, how long does the rubber tend to last in terms of its, you know, before it starts to really fade? He said, oh, maybe about 20 laps. So the final 10 or so, or 7 laps will be very, very interesting.
Consistency of the tyre, though, in that previous race, I remember remarking on the difference between peak speed and the speed towards the back end of the race. The variance wasn't huge, so they weren't too bad, but they certainly go away. The crisp edge disappears. I kind of thought that McLaughlin might be a little bit stronger here this weekend. Last year, it yielded a 4th, 3rd and 8th out of the 3 races, and in our first race this afternoon, Scotty ended up being 8th. So here he is. He's had a pole position here, and they've had terrific pace just in the recent past, but they haven't quite cracked the code here so far this weekend. It's a real knife edge. Great to see so many families out here enjoying the action this afternoon. And there's Craig Lowndes. He's currently in 7th, as Tim Edwards quite rightly pointed out. Jamie Whincup, the leader, from David Reynolds, and Mark Winterbottom next. Reason for the Lexus RCF safety car intervention is there's a problem with Steve Owen's car. It's parked up on the exit of turn number 1.
Brad Jones, you've got 3 cars in the V8 Supercars, you've got 3 cars in the Dunlop Series. I think you've got almost 60 people here this weekend, and you're a little bit short of spare parts. Now, we've heard a little birdie say that your wife has made a special trip with just a few little panels and bits and pieces, and we believe that this is...
That's her at Albury Airport, yeah. Yeah, so she's got a couple of mud guards, a side sticker and a few bits and pieces. It's a bit tragic when her bag shrinks to carry all that stuff, isn't it?
It's definitely tragic given that the gala dinner's on Monday, and I'm sure she would have preferred to put shoes and handbags and a lovely dress.
Absolutely. I don't know how because she travels with a lot of stuff. So I don't know how she fitted everything in that tiny little bag, but guess I'll see in a couple of hours.
And excess baggage has been covered by...
Yeah, me.
That's it always is.
Thanks, Bradley.
Okay, no worries, thanks.
And just checking, did you pack your own bag, Mrs. Jones? Yeah. Do you normally carry a transaxle, a bonnet, an axle?
And that means if she's helping out like that, she's going shopping when she gets here for the Gala Awards.
He'll pay a price for that.
Fantastic.
As he should. There.
Great work.
Hello, Melly.
Great
Look at all
work.
that.
It's a great family-run team. That's what it's all about. And those parts will come in very, very handy.
Jason Wright's been consuming them at a rate that they can't manufacture them quick enough back at the factory. So it's been a wild weekend for them.
So lights out on the Lexus RCF safety car.
80 kilometres an hour. Hold speed.
Looking like we'll get a restart this time around. Field bunched up. Whincup from Reynolds and Winterbottom eyeing up the title here. So the Lexus safety car will peel off here and we will get racing back underway on the streets of Sydney Olympic Park. It weaves, as you can see from the aerial shot, around some of the key venues that were built for the 2000 Games here. It's fantastic to think that the world's best touring car championship stages a race in this precinct. We've had a good crowd here so far this weekend for the title decider.
Green flag.
Yesterday, in the driver's briefing, they were told they could overlap at that point, turn 13, but they could not overtake until the control line. Jamie Whincup controls the field. We're back underway and racing here in the Kotaya Sydney 500. Whincup from Reynolds, Winterbottom fending off Courtney, who has a look. Both of them former Western Sydney boys. James knows what it's like to wrap up a title here. Frosty hoping to enjoy that same feeling in just under 25 laps time.
David Reynolds was able to shadow Jamie pretty nicely on the run down towards turn 1. There was a bit of a gap back to Mark Winterbottom. Looked slightly vulnerable to James Courtney on the run down towards 1, but he's found his rhythm again now. There's always the nervous restart period where they've just lost a little bit of temperature and pressure out of the tyre. They're better informed now in managing that because of the tyre pressure monitoring systems that are on the cars, and the information's going back via telemetry. You can see how vigorously drivers were working their tyres and brakes in the safety car period to try and maintain the optimum temp and pressure. You still lose it, and brake temp as well.
Breath of that camera on the wall there as they come flying past. They get super close.
I saw you duck under the desk there for a minute. Now, Rusty, just while we're waiting for the cars to come back around, you had a run round yesterday with Scotty McLaughlin in the late afternoon.
That was fantastic. So it gave me a whole new perspective on how narrow this place is, how I said they're killer curbs at this place. You've got to have a car that will ride them well. You boys have often talked about that. But when the tyres we had on the car were well past their best, so it was a very enjoyable ride indeed. Very cool.
Dip your hat to the skill of these men out there with a tonne and a half of racing car, and they fly them across these curbs and they slide them up to the concrete walls with millimetre accuracy. We've got some great athletes out there doing their stuff, and Whincup is one of those for sure. He's got 0.5 of a second and already just opened up a couple of vital millimetres over David Reynolds. Here's Lowndes, 7th. Looks like they may have smartened the car up, as I said before, just a little. That's Van Gisbergen in front. He's been pretty much the benchmark or close to it all weekend.
Other intriguing thing, we're focused very much on the Drivers' Championship. That's understandable. But the lead or the advantage in the Teams' Championship was trimmed up. In the last one, it went from 71 points between the Pepsi Max crew and Red Bull Racing Australia down to 43. Now, given that Whincup is first, Lowndes is 7th, the sole remaining Pepsi Max crew Falcon is Mark Winterbottom in 3rd. We could have a heck of a race on our hands for that Teams Championship. Red Bull has moved into the lead based on the positions at the moment. If they finish like this, Red Bull will take the lead in the Teams Championship.
It's pretty interesting and juicy in the Manufacturers' Championship as well, because that win in the last race for Holden just moved them up one spot on Ford. So that's an intriguing little battle as well. So the various subplots going on out there at the moment. 0.8 of a second gap, Whincup over Reynolds. Van Gisbergen on screen in 6th.
Only be a narrow margin, 16 points is all it would be for Red Bull Racing Australia over the Pepsi Max crew going into the final race tomorrow. So that'll be a nail-biter, that championship. But it's the drivers that's uppermost in our minds right now. Winterbottom looking good, looking the goods to take it. Finally, he's been a runner-up. He's been 3rd on a number of occasions. He's dreamt about it. He's won a Bathurst. He's stayed cool and calm today. It's been a very impressive performance. He came out, was quick in free practice 4 as the family looks on. There's his wife, Renee. We've seen some shots of the kids here in pit lane today too, which is tremendous. And he spoke very calmly to the team on the radio. The pit stop was perfect in the first race of the day. The start by him from pole position was brilliant. And he stayed out of trouble. He said, I could have got the elbows out, but that's not the smart play.
No, he's done a good job, hasn't he, so far? It's been a tricky weekend of managing all of the different considerations.
Keep it up. We've got 22 to go, mate. 22 to go.
How hard do you push? How much conservatism? Can't afford to change the game that you've played successfully through the course of the year. A game that's yielded a heap of wins, some pole positions and a pile of podiums. But at the same time, you've just got to try and make sure that you stay out of trouble around here. And all that stuff just comes down to a split second. It's not easy to manage.
A few extra grey hairs for Tim Edwards because he's also worried about Cam Waters in the Dunlop series.
And especially when you see the other car with a sync sensor problem and all of a sudden it doesn't get the electrical message it needs to function, and so they don't need that little problem to bob up in car number 5.
McLaughlin looking good here as he chases James Courtney in 4th place. Quickest lap of the race belongs to Shane Van Gisbergen, who is behind McLaughlin. Roller coaster ride. down Dawn Fraser, and they've got to arrest all that speed, try and keep the rear of the car stable for the left-hander. Courtney gets off the corner well there.
Sounds cool, doesn't it? That
Unreal.
car, doesn't matter how many times I look at it, watch it go by when you're standing on the edge of the racetrack or joining it on board here, it's a sweet sound. Flat plane crank, different architecture at the heart of the engine. Still a 5-litre V8. Man, it sounds good.
Very unique sound.
This is a really good battle between these guys, isn't it? Courtney McLaughlin, Van Gisbergen. Absolutely nothing in this one. Once again, we see Shane just in search of a bit of clean air. These were the shots that in the previous race gave us a bit of an insight into Mark Winterbottom's issues as well. The Coates Hire chopper showed that drive was pretty good on the car, but it just didn't really get out the corner relative to those around that he was racing. They've clearly improved that car for this race. Problem here for Moffat. The Farrison Industries car. It's the 3rd time this weekend we've seen trauma. The front right's been plucked out of that car.
And yeah, sorry.
Final race weekend for him with this team.
Nice and slow. We've lost, we've lost the whole wheel out of the side of it. Broken the front end again. So just, be real careful, all right?
It's a real shame for James. He'd been a regular in the top 10 throughout practice.
It's a question of whether or not he tries to drag it back or whether there's somewhere that he can place the car that's out of harm's way. And that's the question that they'll be looking at and asking. No wonder it broke. He's in behind Todd Kelly there. He's jumped straight across the top of the bumps. Any wonder it just completely smashed the suspension out of that car. The load would be exponential through there. And Alex Davison also just, there's a little bit of junk on the road down there too, I think, and he's bulldozed the tyres. And I heard him on the radio say, can you have a look at the front of the car next time round? Now I understand the context of that radio remark as well.
Here's another look at it. Watch Moffat.
Yeah, he's arrived too hot. He's had to dive at the inside. I wonder whether there was a problem stopping it. It's literally clean jumped the racetrack there. So it hit that first curb, smashed the suspension out of it, left the road, and then landed on the other side of the curb. It's
showing you how brutal the curbs are here. And no, she's not a stadium truck, unfortunately. So there's only so much.
I'm amazed that he's been able to get it back.
The fastest cars in the race so far are the guys that were duking it out at the front in the previous race. So Van Gisbergen has the fastest lap of the race and only a 10th off him. In fact, less than that is Jamie Whincup.
Just see how far that thing left. It was like a wakeboarding. It went across one wake, went right across the track and came down on the other wake on the other side. So it was lucky that there was no other car around there, and a bit of a miracle that James was able to get the thing back. So sad end to his day. And I wonder why he did diagonal in. He may have just made a mistake and gone in too quick, or I wonder whether something else had gone wrong at that point.
Kevin Fitzsimons from Dunlop Motorsport. I just wanted to quickly have a chat to you about this tyre and what kind of punishment it does take in all sorts of different conditions, but in different track configurations like here at Sydney. I mean, it's just getting pounded into these curbs, and we just saw Mr. Moffat have a good crack at trying to destroy a few of them as well, but it needs to be designed to do so many different things, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. You have to take that into consideration. Safety's the main priority, of course. Lap speed's way down the priority list, so different surfaces, the temperature difference and everything, even for the first race today and everything, but smashing the curbs is really, really hard. The engineer's got to work really, really hard and get the carcass strong. So that's where the tyre pressure thing comes into it. So keep the pressures up, and that just helps aid anything. But yeah, they cop a pounding, mate.
And then you go to somewhere like Bathurst where they're loaded, or Phillip Island where they're loaded for a long period of time through these incredibly long corners as well.
Yeah, it's very true. We've just actually done a bit of a SWOT analysis for V8 Supercars on G loadings laterally and vertically and bits and pieces, and it's certainly a bit of an eye-opener. You know, they do have to cop a lot. You know, it's the only thing that connect the cars to the road, so they've got to look after it.
Good on you, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, bud.
On that topic, the difference in the nature of the circuit is extraordinary from Phillip Island to here. Phillip Island, a couple of the turns you get up to 10, 11 seconds of load, constant load, the right-hand side of the car, and the stress that puts into the tyres extreme. Here, the longest time that you spend turning is at turn 8. It's just a little over 5 seconds. So a street circuit versus a traditional Grand Prix style circuit. Very different demands on the race car, the driver, and everything, including the tyre. 2 seconds is the gap. Whincup over Reynolds. Winterbottom still in third. Frosty just looks like he's lost a little bit of ground to David in the recent past, and that's James Courtney lurking. Different livery on the car this weekend to celebrate their 25th year, the Holden Racing team. McLaughlin's having a better run in the second race this afternoon. There he is in 5th. Then Van Gisbergen, Lowndes still in 7th. Rick Kelly, Scott Pye, Lee Holdsworth. That's the 10.
Oh, is that damage of some kind? There's smoke coming out on the front left of David Reynolds' car. Is there an issue for the 55? He's currently second in this race. Is it a tyre problem or a brake issue maybe?
It's definitely got some breathing going on there for some reason, hasn't it? What is it?
Is it rubbing? Is the bodywork rubbing maybe on the tyre? 17 laps to go. They look nervous at Bottle-O.
Yeah, got a little bit of tyre smoke coming from the left front, mate, so just go easy on it. Should be all good. 17 to go.
They'll be scanning telemetry in that garage as well, just to make sure that from a system standpoint, everything's okay.
Yeah, okay, mate.
If he's just given the tyres a rub somewhere, he could push that front bumper assembly back, and it might be just rubbing constantly on the tyre.
Let's hope it's something that doesn't get worse or that can last the race.
Hasn't really hurt his lap speed or his sector splits at the moment. He's still 2.1 seconds behind Jamie Whincup. You can see the quizzical look on Brad Bushison's face, and he turned around to look at others in the garage to see what other information can be gleaned there. That's the team owner, Rod Nash, on the right.
Probably don't see a rub any walls there, mate. Or if it's a brake issue, there's a little bit of smoke coming from that left front still.
They're confident he'll be okay. It's a lead of 2.3 seconds between Whincup and Reynolds. Winterbottom with one hand on the trophy. James Courtney in 4th place. He's 0.9 behind Winterbottom. So David seems okay, doesn't he?
Looking overhead there at 11, 12 and 13, the final sequence of corners near the train station. Yeah, just looking at his numbers again there, on that last lap it was a 1 minute 29.6. His best time, Rusty's been a 1 minute 29.1, so it's only half second variance there. But, he may have just given the tyres a little rumble somewhere along the line. We'll keep an eye on it for you. Scott Pye, he's in 9th place. Lee Holdsworth, Jason Bright. This little queue here is where our focus is at the moment. More bits on the way for car number 8, the Team BOC entry.
Tim Slade from the back of the grid's only been able to make up a few places in the Super Cheap Auto race, and he's up to 21st. Well done to Dale Wood, who's 14th at the moment. In his final weekend with the Brad Jones team, he will join Nissan next season. Looks like Will Davison a little loose through there. Davison currently 12th.
This underscores just how important it is to qualify. And Jason Bright, who qualified down the order a little for this one, you can see once it's tucked up in the traffic, this is a car that was good enough to be on the podium in the previous race, and even though they tried to cook the driver, still good enough to come home and grab some tinware. But when you're down the order, it's very difficult to be able to sneak through. And you saw in that previous race where Craig Lowndes had pace over Steve Owen, and he had to chew away trying to figure out a way by. He eventually did it. There's only a couple of spots where you can really, with relative ease, successfully put a move together here to clear a car. Everywhere else, you've pretty much got to stay on the racing line. The further off you get, the dirtier it is, the harder it is to pull the car up or to get around the corner. And then the risk's so high, you don't want to end up grinding into the wall or catching one of those tyre bundles. And so it discourages the drivers to a degree from getting too racy. If they go down the inside here at turn 1, for example, it's just so dusty down there, barely stop the car.
A number of young karters watching the coverage today, and my phone lit up a moment ago. Here's Charlie Schwerkolt looking on. Final weekend with the Walkinshaw stable for this guy. He's made a big move, a big commitment to go and do his own thing next year, and the legendary crew chief, Jeff Breck, will run that operation for him. It'll be 888 equipment, a 888 Commodore. Lee Holdsworth is very excited about it, but Lee's trying to finish the year on a high note with these guys. He's currently in 10th place. The point I was going to make about the Carters, Crompo, Frosty, of course, got his start as a champion in a Ford after karting, part of the Ford Kart Stars series. The brainchild of the late Howard Marsden, who was a big fan, of course.
10 Australian titles, 25 state titles. Ford Kart Stars was one of Howard's ideas, and that was where we first understood the skill set that Mark Winterbottom possessed in the business. So yeah, he's done very well graduating to the highest levels of the sport.
So it's Whincup by 2.8 over Reynolds. This is the battle between Bright and Holdsworth, the 10th. Margin is just under 2.8 seconds between our race leader, Jamie Whincup, looking good to take out a second one for the day at the Kotaya Sydney 500, live here on the streets of Sydney Olympic Park. David Reynolds, despite that smoke coming from the tyre there before, seems to be managing it pretty well.
Van Gisbergen, sorry, Rusty. That was awkward through the curbing there. He was out of shape and caught the curb awkwardly there momentarily.
Winterbottom sitting in third. It's been a good day for Winterbottom so far, and he may just achieve the dream with 13.5 laps to go.
Renee Winterbottom, things are getting serious when you've got your own umbrella girl standing here or sitting here watching Mark Winterbottom. This is very real right now. The championship could be wrapped up today. It's been a long time coming for both Mark and yourself.
Yeah, this is the longest 14 laps, so just I'm feeling pretty calm. He's in a great position. He's, you know, he knows exactly what he's got to do. So 20th or better is where we needed to be in this race, and he's doing that. So I'm really excited for him.
What has it been like in this week leading up to this weekend? I know that Mark's wanted to keep focused, and he said, you know, I'm sick of talking to the media. I'm sick of everybody talking to us. But what has it been like for you?
He's been really relaxed, actually. He was far more intense at like the Gold Coast, and there are a lot more points up for offer, but coming into this weekend, he knew exactly what he had to do, so he was actually relaxed. A lot of really good family time and really good preparation.
What will it mean to your family?
We've got one hand on the trophy, so I'm hesitant to say too much, but I just can't even imagine what it's going to feel like for him. He really has driven so well this year, and he does deserve it, so that's a really proud thing for me. So I'm going to start crying, so don't ask me anymore.
We'll let you enjoy the next 13 laps.
Thank you.
What's going on there with Jason Bright's Team BOC entry? Yes, a big moment for the Winterbottom family. It's 24/7, 365. It consumes not only the drivers, but everybody around as well, in the families and immediate family. And those around. It's a big support group for the drivers, you know, as it is with anybody in peak sport. It's a very, very big effort, and there's a lot of sacrifices made, far more so than it might necessarily look like from the outside. It all looks bright and shiny, and you know, what a nice cruisy Hollywood lifestyle it might be, but behind the scenes it's hard yards with a lot of risks and high levels of insecurity.
A real shame for the BOC entry, Jason Bright. The boys got the right rear off there, the rear toe link. You can see the mechanic there has got his hands on it there, very badly bent, so that aligns the rear wheel. They can turn that in around just to give the rear wheel a little bit of toe, and unfortunately it's very badly bent, so it's obviously quite difficult to drive for Jason. He'd have a serious amount of toe out on that right front going on at the moment, so he's brought into pit lane. They've been bashing at it with a hammer, but I don't think that's going to fix it.
They were the things that you highlighted with NCAM earlier on too, Greg, you know, pointing out where the vulnerabilities are in suspension at a place like this.
Meantime, this battle continues here. So Lowndes closing on that group, which includes Courtney, McLaughlin and Van Gisbergen. We go back, and riding it out wide there was Will Davison. Davison ahead of Tander in 11th place. Here's Dale Wood. Spoke about the job he's doing before. The 21 is currently in 13th place, ahead of his teammate Fabian Coulthard, who has a look, and he's the best of the Brad Jones Racing drivers at the moment, given that Jason Bright is back in the pit lane. Good job, Dale Wood.
2.5 seconds the gap now, Whincup over Reynolds. Mark Winterbottom still comfortably in third position ahead of James Courtney. There's Jack Perkins, 17th for Jack at the moment, standing in for Nick Percat this weekend.
Some damage to the Nissan in the background there for Todd Kelly from earlier in the race.
With that sentence, you can say, I can see some damage, then it's ... because there's, if you go and look carefully, there's plenty of it.
Austin and Oliver are their children. They would be they love the racing scene.
Big day for Dad, big day for the family. Pretty cool if your dad can be the V8 Supercar champion. Said to him earlier in the day in 2013, very special moment when you put together a victory at Mount Panorama, and that's something that every driver covets. But for complexity, winning the championship is a whole nother deal. The hot days, the cold days, and in between, the dusty tracks, the good moves, the bad moves, the crashes, the penalties, the emotion. Managing all of that is a big mission. It's taken until the 35th race of the championship season, or 36 to be able to put this together. It's been a very big job, and as you pointed out a few moments ago, it started in karts successfully for him. He was runner-up in Formula Ford to Jamie Whincup all the way back in 2002. He's been the runner-up in our championship in 2008, and 5 times he's had to sit there at the gala dinner at the end of every year and say, yeah, I was third, and we'll try and come back and do better next year, and we'll go back and reset and rethink. But he's now within striking distance of being able to put this championship together. It was a big step up for not just Mark Winterbottom, but for that entire group this year. Here's Gizzy, 6th place at the moment, looking at the back of the Volvo in turn 1.
He was champion as well in the Dunlop Series in 2003, Frosty. So all those years in between, hopeful of putting the number 1.
And the first time that a Dunlop Series champion has gone on potentially to be the champion-elect, as you'd describe it at the moment, until it officially happens. But that's a pretty cool thing to be able to say that you've achieved in Australian motorsport.
Lachlan keeps pushing, keeps the acid on, so does Van Gisbergen here.
Rusty French, he took ownership of Ford Performance Racing a couple of years ago, Pro Drive Racing Australia. Ford decided they didn't want to be the factory team anymore. This is a very special moment for you guys.
It's 3 years today, actually, that we bought the team, Rod and I, when we signed up. I think it's a great achievement for the team, the drivers, the crew, everybody back in the store that's all put all this together. So we're really thrilled. And for Frosty to see if he's going to get there at the end of the weekend, it's fantastic. So it's really been a fantastic experience. It's been great to be able to keep the team together.
As a team owner, how do you feel?
Very proud of everybody. And I think not being involved in V8s prior to buying into the team has been a fantastic experience, and I'm just so proud of everybody. The drivers, the crew, it's just fantastic, and we're looking forward to coming back next year and giving it another shot.
Enjoy these last laps.
Thank you.
Successful competitor in his own right. Rusty French has been part and parcel of the business for many, many years. Has invested a lot personally and professionally in the sport, so that's a big achievement for him as well. I'm sure that deep down inside this means as much to him as it does to many others. There'll be a lot of emotion surrounding this if the deal gets closed here. We're not there yet. There's still 9 laps remaining. You're always a little bit hesitant in this business to get too far ahead of yourself, but there in the Winterbottom camp, they can feel the opportunity is beginning to bubble up towards reality.
As you say, Rusty's an ultra-passionate racer. Was, I think, running in 2 categories at Phillip Island last time out, and at the same time, throwing the team gear on and moving back into the whole ownership management position for the V8 Supercar races.
This Campbellfield-based team in Melbourne, they've worked away at it for a long period of time, and they had to put up also with the blowtorch of disappointment and all of the, look, you're nearly there but not quite, you fumbled the ball under pressure at the last minute, and they went through all that, start strong, finish weak, or strong in the midsection of the season, and strong at the end and not the beginning. All those different combinations, they've had to put up with all those jibes along the way. But this year, it's been a very, very solid campaign. Of course, it also involved Chaz Mostert, so incredibly disappointing for him to not be a part of all this at the back end of the year after what happened at Bathurst. But you look at Mark Winterbottom's achievements coming into the weekend, 9 victories, 15 podiums. He started the weekend out with a 179-point margin. But still unresolved for these minor placings, though, so have a look at this for Courtney McLaughlin, Van Gisbergen. Lowndes is still parked up there in 7th in the background. He hasn't got much in reserve now. He's lost a little bit of ground to Shane. Looks like it's going to be a top 10 result also for Rick Kelly, Scott Pye and Lee Holdsworth.
Good job by David Reynolds to manage that tyre or that tyre issue.
Interesting that we've now seen quite a number of images of Van Gisbergen at turn 8, starting from a wider turning position and only just kissing the curb down there and not floating in the car aggressively across that curb. So he's altered his technique down there, so maybe he feels he's found something in terms of the grip. Drivers go in search of it. We'll keep an eye on Shane Van Gisbergen here. Did he rub that wall?
You bet it.
I reckon a feeler gauge there between the door handle and the wall would have revealed next to nothing.
Let's have a look from this point of view.
You're never going to accuse Shane Van Gisbergen of not trying. How'd you like to be the front right or right rear suspension on David Reynolds' car there, where there's just that extreme bump load all of a sudden completely bottoms out the travel. Here we are with the Coates Hire chopper looking down on Shane.
Roller Dane, as it stands at the moment, the Manufacturers' Championship and the Teams' Championship go in your favour, go in Holden's favour, obviously, as well. It's a pretty big task, and it's been completed well.
Well, we haven't completed
Well, it will
yet.
be, yeah, no. We're all being presumptuous.
Record, we won't presume anything, but hopefully we're in the right track and we're setting ourselves up really to try and get the driver's title back next year if possible. Mark's done a really good job, and all credit to him, but we don't want him to hang on for too long.
No, I'm sure you don't. You know how it is to win these things. You guys have done it better than anybody for a very long time. So what they have achieved next year is, got to get paid an accolade, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, they've been our closest competitor for years and years, and we've locked horns so hard for so long. And well done to them. It's, if we can secure the Teams Championship, we'll accept that and be happy with that, and try again harder next year.
Good on you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You saw the points bottom left of screen there and how close it is. This race has been a changer in the Teams Championship, with Steve Owen out of the game and just alone. Pepsi Max crew entry of Mark Winterbottom here in 3rd. Whincup first, Lowndes in 7th. They will take the lead of the Teams Championship, but still one important race to go tomorrow, and it's very close. Owen is back in the pit bunker. There is Cameron Waters, who leads the Dunlop Series. He's hoping to clinch that title tomorrow. But we're riding for 6 nerve-wracking laps, less than that now, with Frosty on a very important career day.
I mentioned and sensed that there'd be a boil over of emotion for the Pro Drive friends and family and the team at the back end of this race, and that's the way that it's panning out. Staying nice and conservatively within the boundaries of this racetrack and this car at the moment, Mark Winterbottom. There he is with plenty of space around him, not too close to the back of David Reynolds, and certainly not really under assault at the moment from James Courtney, so he's in his own space and enjoying this. They do a remarkable number of kilometres in the championship season, thousands and thousands, well north of 10,000 kilometres to be able to put it all together. And it's starting to look all bright and shiny for this man, his group, and all of those surrounding it.
Won't crack a smile just yet. Pete Travascus in the background there.
Yeah, he's full poker face at the moment.
5 to go, mate. 5 to go. Keep it up. Doing a great job.
So let's check his last lap speed. 1:29.9 it was for Mark Winterbottom on the last lap. That's only 0.6 of a second away from the best lap that he's achieved in the race. So tyres are working pretty well around here, and he's obviously still driving maximum attack.
Only 100th off David Reynolds' time, so absolutely right. McLaughlin in particular, and Courtney look a fraction faster, but they're too far. Might not be too far in arrears.
Chris Pither here, car number 111, Super Black Racing. 18th position at the moment, David Wall, and then Tim Slade, who had that qualifying trauma with that car after clobbering the tyres at turn 7 in the previous qualifying session. So he's paid a heavy price in this one. The other number of significance here for Mark Winterbottom in all this, it's his 10th year with ProDrive, as Rihanna said before, formerly Ford Performance Racing. 10 years, decade's a long time in business and in sport and in life. That's an extraordinary long innings to be able to keep chipping away at the task. And one of the hardest things, I remember Alan Grice saying this years ago, in this business is to get up off the mat, to pick yourself up off the bad days. And there's plenty of them. There's usually more bad days than good days.
Here's a bloke we know well who gave him his start. That's pretty cool. He would love to see him clinch it. He said recently that Mark Larkham, he thought Frosty would do it, that he would be the man here at Sydney Olympic Park.
2004 and 2005, Larko gave him a run on the recommendation of what he'd seen in the development series. The Stone brothers ran Frosty in the development series. He was the champion in 2003. So Larko chimed in there and put some effort and some dollars and some tutelage into the process.
Hey, Mark Larkin, the boys, just you're on camera there a second ago. This is a pretty emotional time for everybody in this camp, but also obviously for you too, being that you put him in the seat right back when.
Well, I mean, he's a deserving winner, mate, he really is. And the thing that's always struck me about Mark, even way back then, he drives the car beautifully. And as you know, Greg, this game is ultimately about how you drive the car. For me, he's a superstar. He's taken longer to get here than I thought he might have.
Pretty tough championship, though.
It's a tough championship, but he's done it, and the way he went about it, we talked about it mid-year, a different demeanour, a different Mark Winterbottom. He stepped out of his own shadow, and well done to him, mate.
Absolutely, well done.
Thanks, pal.
He's done a good job, Frosty, on the tough days. He's not had a podium since Bathurst, but it doesn't matter. He's kept chipping away at it. He'll be a very, very worthy champion indeed.
That garage is going to erupt once they know that they can safely celebrate. And then tomorrow, it'll be game on.
He can get the elbows out then. Less than 3 to go now for Mark Winterbottom. Look at the head in their hands. I can't watch that. I can't watch.
There was a big turnaround moment in 2006 when he teamed up with Jason Bright to win the Sandown 500. And every driver in this country that pulls on a helmet ultimately wants to be a Bathurst winner and a touring car and V8 Supercar champion. And so this is very likely the day that the number one vacates from Jamie Whincup's car to Mark Winterbottom's car. They've been rivals that go all the way back to karting and Formula Ford. Fierce rivals, at times bitter rivals. We've seen some great exchanges between them over the years. And this day and this season is going to belong to Mark Winterbottom.
Runner-up in the championship back in 2008. Look at, I can't look. Nearly there. Dad is nearly there. Austin and Oliver. Third in 06, 2010, 2011, 2012, and last year as well. So close on so many occasions. What a story this championship has been. Battle that came down to two big names in our sport. We've got more marks, more makes in the championship now, but fittingly it's kind of a Ford versus Holden battle to the end at the last round of the championship. Not long to go for Mark Winterbottom.
3,400 metres of racetrack. That's one corner done, 12 to go. Got a nice gap. It's his 383rd V8 Supercar Championship race. He's come into the weekend with more victories than any other driver this year, and his conversion from qualifying to the podium at the end of every weekend was fantastic, particularly in the mid-year.
He's been brilliant. The first half or 2/3 of the season was superb. Even Sandown, where it was a 1-2 finish for the Pepsi Max Falcons, a podium result at Bathurst. And then he's gone through some highs and lows and lots of scrutiny from the press, but he's handled it well.
We saw that big turnaround for him come in terms of wins beginning in Western Australia. He pressed on with it at Winton, at Townsville, at Queensland Raceway, and as you pointed out, at Sandown. It's been a mighty campaign in 2015. Congratulations, Mark Winterbottom.
He's about to get one lap to go. Final lap about to start for Mark Winterbottom. As Crompo points out, this is it. One to go. Renee says, come on. Cheering for Dad. Yeah. He's originally from Western Sydney. He lives in Melbourne these days to be with the team, with the Pepsi Max crew. But he's at home, in front of the home crowd, and about to do it.
I snipped a lap off them, but they've finally relaxed. They know that they've actually got this one. So Wincup's going to be the one that grabs the maximum points, and a beautiful drive with a 1.8 second margin over David Reynolds. But it's going to be all about championship here for Frosty.
These last 15 or so laps must have been so hard for him in the sense of listening to everything, knowing what happened to Steve Owen. He just kept it calm. Super calm today, Mark Winterbottom.
He hasn't relaxed on the pace. Even that last lap then for him was a very competitive lap. He's kept that margin ahead of James Courtney. There's the margin. From Reynolds to Frosty, Frosty back to James Courtney. So an incredibly disciplined campaign. Unbelievable effort from the entire team, huge group of people, and absolutely worthy of this reward that he's going to cop.
Jamie Whincup will go back-to-back at the Coates Hire Sydney 500. He wins from David Reynolds, but it is a victory in the championship. A very, very worthy winner. Mark Winterbottom does it in 2015.
Oh, man. Oh. Thank you. It's such a team effort, boys and girls. Far and speechless. Thank God.
Speechless. So close on so many occasions. This is his day. As he said, 60-odd people in the ProDrive organisation, in the Pepsi Max crew. This is special for them too. He got a Bathurst win in 2013. It was Chaz's last year, but it's the title he's wanted. He's on the line. Frosty, it's Rusty and Crompo here from everybody watching. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's awesome, boys. I got a few tears under this visor, mate. I'm speechless. That's so good, and so proud of the boys. And I wish my mum was here. I wish she was here. Thanks, boys.
Well done, mate. Fantastic performance. You've really deserved it. The effort you put together in the mid-year was just brilliant. You've worked all your life for this one. Enjoy every second of it.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Cheers.
He's a little short for words and understandable. His mum would be super proud.
Renee Winterbottom, he's done it. You can celebrate.
Oh, I'm so proud of him. I can't wait to give him a big kiss. Gets a number one on his car, finally. So exciting, so happy.
The first thing he said was, I wish my mum was here, and I know you'd share that same sentiment.
Yeah, it's really sad, but she'd be so proud of him. Yeah.
What does it mean to your family? I know he works so hard, you work so hard.
He's so good, he's been so good since he started racing in V8 Supercars, and now he's finally got that championship to prove it. You know, I know how good he is, but now everyone knows how good he is.
Celebrate with your family.
Yay.
Okay, let's go.
Here's Jamie Wincup's second race victory of the weekend. The number one it'll go to his fierce rival in Mark Winterbottom, but Red Bull have good form heading into 2016. But this day, as he heads to the Castrol victory lane, is all about Mark Winterbottom and the title.
Timmy Woods, the relief, congratulations, it must feel amazing.
Yeah, you're right, I can breathe now. I don't think I took a breath for the last half hour. My foot was bouncing up and down. I was just unbelievable.
It's an amazing moment. You guys have worked incredibly hard for so long. We know all the numbers, all the statistics. The championship is where it's all out. It's the pinnacle. You won Bathurst now, but a championship as well is now, right up there. Huh?
Oh, it's fantastic. And, Mark's been with me just about the whole way through it for the last, 10 years for him. it's great that we achieved it together.
It's a massive team effort, though.
Oh, absolutely. There's 62 people who've worked their arse off for the last few years. And to finally achieve this, we'll have a few beers tonight for sure.
Congratulations.
He celebrates with a podium finish on the Saturday, and he can have some fun come Sunday. Just enjoy the final race of the championship. It's Frosties in 2015. The Bottle O crew. Nice. The congratulations from David Reynolds. Dad's number one. Tim Edwards is proud. It's taken a while. There's Pete Travascus. I worked very, very hard for this day as a group, and he has, as an individual, a Dunlop Series champion in 2003. It's taken till now, as Mark Larkham said, a bit longer than everyone thought to finally clinch it.
Jamie Whincup, you've been on fire since New Zealand, double podium here, and your 97th career V8 Supercar win. You are closing on that 100th victory.
Can we stop counting? I reckon these next three are going to be the hardest of all time, but fantastic day. Car had good pace, started in the right spot. Hey, the day's about Mark. I don't want to take any shine off him. He's had a great year. He's been solid. Plenty of critics have said he won't do it, and he's choking. But hey, credit where credit's due. Happily hand over the number one come tomorrow afternoon.
Enjoy that podium celebration, Jamie. Dave Reynolds, just congratulating the team, Dave. I know that's all right. I know you want to send off Bottle O Racing in style. What a way to do it.
Yeah, no, I had a fantastic race. Jamie was a bit too quick then, but awesome job by Mark. Wrapped up the championship, and what can I say? It's brilliant.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mark Winterbottom, you've done it. V8 Supercars champion elect, we have to say. We'll say champion tomorrow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. A few tears in my eyes on that in-lap. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so emotional. My guys and girls that work with me and my family. Had Mum on the helmet all year. I wish she was here. Yeah, I'm speechless. It's awesome.
Frosty, you've been in this game for over 10 years. What does it mean? What are you feeling right now?
I'm numb. So I'll take it all in tomorrow night, I'm sure. But just over the moon, We've fought a long time for this. I've been at the team for a long time, and yeah, we got it done. So thank you all the Ford fans and all our fans that have stuck by us. We've had promise, but finally we got number one on the door. So party's on me, guys. Thank you so much.
Enjoy that podium. Enjoy that champagne.
Thank you.
He does it for Mum today and for that team. It's a career milestone, and barring some major penalties tomorrow, he will be crowned champion, fittingly with a podium finish. Whincup from Reynolds and the champion-elect, Winterbottom. Courtney Home in 4th place. Will Davison finishes in 11th, and Garth Tander didn't pick up as many positions as we thought after his starting place. And Jason Bright down in 23rd. Nice sentiments from Whincup. He says, I don't want to take the shine off it. It's all about Frosty's day. Very cool. They're happy at Team Winterbottom. And tomorrow he can just go out and enjoy. Very, very nice comments, very respectful comments from his rival in Whincup. The number one will go to Mark Winterbottom next year. Adam Devore giving him the congratulations. Some highlights of a very important race in the championship, particularly for Mark Winterbottom. A perfection start from Jamie Whincup. He got away cleanly. There were some skirmishes going on down at turn 1. Somehow Dale Wood survived that. Bit of contact with Michael Caruso. Jack Perkins with limited options. Bit of contact with the Nissan. Then we saw Van Gisbergen make the move on his countryman, Scott McLaughlin. But in the end, McLaughlin would finish the race ahead of Van Gisbergen, who tried a couple of different lines or a different driving style at this point of the track as Neil Crompton picked up. Gary Rogers looking on, perhaps examining the way that he was attacking that Van Gisbergen by comparison to his driver, Scott McLaughlin. Good stops for the leading teams. And then there was this drama, a sensor issue for Steve Owen. That gave everyone a scare in the Pepsi Max camp. Hopefully, it wouldn't be the same thing for car number 5 of Mark Winterbottom. What about this? Almost stadium truck style. The suspension couldn't handle it for James Moffat. He limped that car back to pit lane. Alex Davison hits the tyre bundles as well as the crowd look on. Looking back at Shane Van Gisbergen, who attacked the curbs, but he could not. As you ride on that unique sounding Volvo, he couldn't get past Van Gisbergen, try as he might. And the Giz, who finished second in the opening race today, would finish this one in 6th place. Up in front, it was Whincup v Reynolds, who had a small tyre issue, but everyone had their eyes back on the Pepsi Max Falcon. The family, thumbs up for Dad. They couldn't watch on at one point. They were so nervous. It was a nervous final 10 laps. All he needed to do was bring it home. He was in front of Craig Lowndes and would put it beyond doubt. 2 wins for the weekend so far for Jamie Whincup, but the title, and it's a worthy winner, goes to Mark Winterbottom. More than 60 people at Pro Drive celebrate, and his late mum would be very, very proud. Mark Winterbottom, champion-elect. Time for the podium, and here's your MC, Chad Nailon.
It's time for the Race 35 podium here at the Coates Hire Sydney 500. In first place for Red Bull Racing Australia, Jamie Whincup. In second place for the Bottle Racing team, David Reynolds. And in third place for the Pepsi Max crew, Mark Winterbottom. Representing the Castrol Edge winning team from Red Bull Racing Australia is Mark Dutton. With the third place trophy, it's Matt Jones, Chief Executive Officer of OVO Mobile. With the second place trophy, it's Ryan Grayson Morrison, Marketing and Sponsorship, Coates Hire. With the Castrol Edge winning team trophy is Jeanette Aston, the Brand and Product Manager of Dunlop Tyres Australia. And with the first place trophy is Greg Parfitt, the Executive General Manager of our naming rights sponsor, Coates Hire. Ladies and gentlemen, the Coates Hire Sydney 500 Race 35 podium.
They unleash the champagne on the guy who has just put the title race beyond doubt. It would require some massive penalty to change things. Champion-elect, it's his day. Frosty celebrates on the streets of Sydney Olympic Park at home.